Looks like she's joining.
Hello. Hey,
How's it going?
good. Thank you for having us back. How are you doing?
Good, good. Super excited. Survived Halloween, so we're out here and
Yep, it was a crazy season. We had a lot of fun.
it was so busy, but it's so much fun.
Super fun, yeah.
My favorites. I have like post-Halloween blues now, but
Exactly.
with companies like ours, we're very lucky because we kind of get to keep it going all year round.
For sure. Definitely a fun industry to be in this time of year.
Definitely.
Cool. So yeah, today we are going to be talking about brow blocking. So it looks like you've already started it. So perfect.
Yeah,
You look great.
Oh, thank you. A little off balance right now, but we'll get there.
Yeah. But it's so funny. Like I was talking to someone here. I was like, it's amazing how much like brows in general can just like completely change your look.
Oh,
so
absolutely.
So it's definitely, I think, just a good concept to learn just how to brow block, whether you're doing it for a character, whether you're doing it for a period look, an avant-garde look. It's just definitely something that you can definitely use all year round.
Yeah, it's definitely like essential to know whether you're doing beauty, editorial, special effects, body painting. It's kind of used all around. So it's definitely a great skill to have in your back pocket as a professional makeup artist for sure.
Perfect.
So today I'm going to be teaching you guys kind of a more advanced professional way. So a lot of people do use glue sticks nowadays, which is great if you're just kind of playing around at home and doing something quick. But with glue sticks, they are water soluble. So, you know, if you're putting it on and taking it off, no big deal. But if you're looking for something that's really going to last throughout the day, you're going to want something a little more heavy duty, a little more professional, that's going to stay through sweat, through, you know, hours of wear. And that's what I'm going to be showing you guys. So I'm really excited.
Awesome.
Yeah,
So you're going to be using, I believe, spirit gum, right, for instead of like a glue stick today.
Exactly. Yes. So spirit gum is a professional grade adhesive. It's been used in the industry for years. It's a really great tool for any type of special effects, and I also love it for brow blocking. So I will jump right in.
Yeah, definitely.
So this,
and feel free to ask any questions that you have. We're kind of monitoring it, and we can definitely address those as
any questions that come in, definitely send them my way. So yeah, I'm going to start with some spirit gum, and I have a spoolie here. This guy comes with our Pro Brow Palette, which I will be using later to redraw on my 90s brow here. And you want to start off with just a few thin layers. You would rather work in thin layers than put on a lot of product at once because you don't want the product dripping near your eyes. That's going to be a mess. So I'm just going to take a small amount onto the spoolie. And like I said, you want to start with a clean brow. So I did the rest of my makeup, but I avoided this whole area here. You don't want any foundation, concealer, anything that will interfere with the adhesive. So just nice clean skin. So now that we have a little on our brow brush, I'm just going to start to work it through my brows. And you want to brush upwards in the natural brow hair shape. So if your brow hair naturally grows like on a diagonal, brush it that way. If it grows straight up, brush it straight up. You can kind of tell just by looking at your brows which direction they're going to grow in. And I just kind of use a twirling motion with my spoolie.
Okay.
And just begin to kind of press them down. And I'm going to do probably 2 layers of spirit gum should be enough to lock them down.
And do you let them dry like in between? About how long before you go into your next layer?
Since we're working in thin layers and not using a lot of product, it's going to dry pretty quickly, and you'll be able to tell because it's going to start to, you'll have a little bit of pull. If it's too dry, don't pull too hard on the brows. We're not looking to get rid of any brow hair. But if you just work really slowly and gently, yeah, you want it to, with spirit gum, you have like a good amount of working time. It's probably about 30 seconds. And you'll notice because as it begins to dry, it gets really, really tacky and sticky. And that's how you know it's ready to add, like if you're working with a prosthetic, say, that's how you know when it's ready to adhere, when you get that really stickiness and tackiness to it. So yeah, you can see this is beginning to dry. All right, we're going to do one more layer. Just kind of drag it up. So it looks a little crazy for a minute because you have these like, whoop. I guess that's so kind of in trend now though, with the, you know, like soap brows and such.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's so in trend right now.
Yeah.
Like having the laminated brows or the soap brows are like definitely trendy. So actually it looks great.
Actually, it's not too bad.
Yeah, so just as a side note, we do have a blog that we will be publishing later today about all of the trends for brows that are going on. So as Katie mentioned, she has her 90 brow on the other side. Believe it or not, that is making a trend back. I joked, I think people are still recovering and that might be a trigger for some people, the 90s brow. But
for all of us like millennials that once upon a time actually got rid of a chunk of our brows and then like they don't grow back.
Yeah, so so that is definitely one of the trends we'll be talking about, along with laminated brows and some of the other ones that are going on right now. So definitely check that out.
All right, now I'm going to take my double-ended spatula. And just with this, I'm going to use the blunt end of it with just a tiny, tiny bit more spirit gum and just really softly kind of press down. And that's just going to give them one final little smoothness. And then I'm going to show you a trick using our SynWax. And you don't need to do this with everyone. If someone has thin brows, this step might be enough. I have pretty coarse hair. So I don't know if you've ever done a brow block and you can still see the texture of the brows underneath it if you have coarser hair, or if you're working, say, like on someone who just has really thick eyebrows. So using a little bit of wax is going to help to smooth the texture out. That way you have a nice, totally flat base. I'm going to go in with that next. This is our SynWax.
Perfect.
So SynWax,
so what would you say the difference is between this and like the modeling wax that you use?
You could also use the modeling wax. The modeling wax is a little bit firmer. So I prefer modeling wax for areas where there's not a whole lot of movement on your face, like the nose or like the top of a forehead, because you kind of place it there and it stays. It's great for creating larger, you know, if you're wanting to create horns or something like that. SynWax has a little bit more give to it. So it's still pretty firm, but it moves with your features a little better. So if I were to use modeling wax, it might end up cracking throughout the day as I use, as I create emotions.
Good to know.
So like I said, a very, very small amount. And before I put it on, you always want to warm SynWax up and modeling wax before you put it onto the skin. This just kind of helps to have it apply really nice and smooth. And then we're going to take a very small amount at a time.
Oh, wow.
That might even be too much. Because, you don't want a lot. It's literally just to smooth the texture between the brows. And then just kind of comb it and flatten them. And that just gives you a perfectly smooth texture.
Yeah, that looks great.
Very small amount. And you don't need to do it throughout. Like my tail of my brow is pretty sparse, so I'm actually not going to do it in that area because when I powder it, it will probably be more than enough for that to lay flat. But I do have pretty thick brows up front. So I'm going to cover that.
Yeah, you definitely have brow goals.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was lucky. I never tweezed my brows growing up. I never did the 90s trend. I just left them as is.
That's good. That is good.
All right. So that's probably all we need to just have a nice smooth base. So now it is time to set it. I'm going to go in with our Colorset powder. We have a few different setting powders, but I love Colorset for anything more heavy duty, especially with anything special effects, including spirit gum or waxes. It's kind of more of a coarser powder, so it really gets in there and sets and like smooths the skin out.
Perfect.
Just a small amount onto a puff. I definitely prefer a puff for special effects and things like this instead of a brush, because it's going to give a much more concentrated application, and you'll be able to really press it into the skin. And that is key because, again, we're looking for a really flat surface. So by taking my puff and folding it up here, you not only want to cover it, but kind of in a rolling motion, I'm really pressing it. Pressing it right into the skin and on top of the spirit gum and the wax.
Awesome.
So now, as you can see, there's not really much texture there. You can just kind of see the darkness of the brow underneath it. Grab just a bit more powder. And I'm going to use powder basically throughout every step because it really does just like block everything in. So it might seem excessive, but it's going to make it last all day long.
Oh, for sure.
Give
Definitely like setting each layer, just kind of like you would like a tattoo.
Absolutely. Yeah, totally. Actually, that's what I am going to be going in with next is our tattoo cover.
Yes. Perfect. This is one of my favorite products ever that you guys make.
So good. It's so good. And I use it for so much more than just tattoo cover. Just an incredibly high pigmented formula that's very thick. So it's great for covering any type of like discolorations on the skin, tattoos, obviously. If you are working on someone with a brow block who is blonde or ginger, has very light eyebrows, you could skip this step. I have like jet black hair naturally. Yeah. So as you can see, if I just went right over this with foundation, even if it was a full coverage foundation, you'd be able to see a little bit of that darkness underneath it. So this is going to totally knock out any blues and blacks that I have for my eyebrow. So I'm actually going to go, I'm going to use two different shades here. I'm going to do two different layers. I'm going to start with a darker layer. So this darker shade right here, I'm going to set it, and then I'm going to go on top with a lighter layer just to really knock out any colors. So I put a little bit onto my mixing palette here.
Perfect.
And the trick with tattoo cover, because it is very like thick, I like to take it and just put a little bit onto the back of my hand, and that just kind of helps to warm it up. So just like on the back of a nice sanitized hand. And
this definitely has a very unique consistency. So it's super pigmented. Like if you guys have not tried this, this is amazing. As she mentioned, multi-purpose, like you can use to cover up tattoos. She's using it for blocking any like really hyperpigmentation, scars, or anything like that that you're looking to cover up. This is phenomenal. And I think this whole wheel is like $14.95. So
yeah, it's an excellent price point for sure. And a little bit goes a long way. Like
for sure.
This is, I mean, this has been used a few different times, but I put very, very little on my palette, and it's so pigmented that you really don't need a lot. And I'm not going to go over like this whole big area. I really just want to concentrate it only where the darkness from my brow is. And just kind of press it right on top.
And are you using like a concealer type brush?
Yep, this is our concealing brush.
Okay, perfect. I'm like shocked I haven't thought of this before for Barbara. I'm like, this stuff is amazing.
It's so good, yeah.
Yeah, it's like still skin tone colors too.
Yeah. And then I'm going to show you too, because there's, you know, there's obviously only a few amount of shades in here. So this I use just to kind of knock out the color. And then I'm going to go over it with our Celebre to get just like the perfect match.
Yeah.
And really blend it into the skin. All right. And like I said, in between each step, I give it a little powder. Just kind of pressing that on. And I go in with just a fluffy brush, knock that out. And you can already see that knocked out most of
yeah, for sure.
the darkness of the brow. So now I'm going to go in with a lighter shade with the tattoo cover. This is the lightest one. Warm it up on the back of my hand quickly. And just go right over top. If you were doing like a fantasy makeup where you wanted to block your brows, but then say put like a green on top of it, you wouldn't need to go over with this lighter shade. You could just do like a shade a little bit darker and that would knock out the color. And then once you put like a green on top of it, something like a green cream blend that's very pigmented, you'd be ready to go.
Perfect.
All right, I'm just gonna take my little foam latex sponge and just do a little blend with that. And again, set it.
Awesome. Do you think there are any like common mistakes people do when they're kind of blocking their brows?
I think it all depends on like the goal of what they're looking for with blocking their brows. I think using products like glue sticks where they're not really gonna stay is a common mistake, because then throughout the night it's gonna just kind of rub off. And I also think a big thing is removal, which we'll talk about in a minute, because obviously we have a lot of professional adhesives on our skin and you want to take care of your skin first and foremost. So removal is incredibly important. So once I'm done, don't let me forget, I'll show you guys.
Okay.
Or I'll talk you through the proper way to remove all of this product.
Awesome. Yeah, we definitely don't want anybody waxing their eyebrows off accidentally.
Yeah, we've definitely had a few people be like, oh, like I just kept like scrubbing and scrubbing. I'm like, no, don't do that. All right, so I have our Celebre Cream 12 color palette here. And my shade is light 4, that's closest to my complexion. So I'm going to take that and just put a little bit onto my palette here. And then we're going to go over in a larger area, not just the brow, cover this whole forehead and just begin to blend with my little sponge.
Perfect. So you're using that shade to really just blend into the rest of the face so it all.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm also going to go in with the powder palette. I absolutely love this palette, not just for beauty, but for special effects, because it's such a pigmented pressed powder that is perfect for those just like final blending moments.
Yeah, I do love that about Mehron. Like, you offer the palettes for professionals to have in your kit. You can buy them in the individual shades. Like, you really definitely offer in this range.
If you know like your shade, you can absolutely just go ahead and grab a single. But for things like this too, I like with the powder, I'm going to use multiple, because once I get it all covered, then because it's in an area where you naturally have all of these like contours and deeper shades too, you can use the palette to not only cover with your exact match, but then go in and add dimension back, which gives it that more realistic effect. Another layer of powder. And now my Celebre pressed powders here. Again, I'm going to use the light 4 mainly, but I might kind of bounce back and forth. through a few different shades, lighter and darker, depending on what that certain area needs. Like you can see right here, it's looking a little bit light, so I might bump up to the medium 1. And then in areas where it's maybe looking a little dark, I can go up a shade. And I like to use just kind of like a nice dense brush.
Okay. So just really pressing the
And
powder
really,
into it versus like.
exactly. Yeah. Really using it to press.
Okay.
And that just really helps to blend it right in.
Awesome. Yeah, that looks great. Because you really do have nice full eyebrows, so you would never know looking at you right now.
Thick eyebrows. Yeah, that's why the wax is so great, because it just really helps to smooth.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to switch to a fluffier brush so I can kind of get a larger area, and like I said, add more like of a contour so it just looks more natural, because as you can see here now, like this is a little bit lighter. So I'm going to use some of the deeper shades here with a fluffy brush and just kind of go back in and add that color back onto the skin. Even dusting on the inner corner. Looking a little crazy now without one eyebrow. It's fun though to like play around and see what you would look like without eyebrows, with 90s eyebrows, with
Yeah, I totally agree. I did an Edward Scissorhand look for Halloween this year, and so I blocked out my eyebrows. And like I totally freaked out my husband when I went to go like show him what I looked like with no eyebrows. He was like, "Oh my gosh."
It was so good. All right, so this is our Pro Brow Palette. I absolutely love this guy for my kit. It has 5 different brow shades as well as this clear pomade. So this clear pomade can be used on its own to do kind of like that soap brow effect where you just get really fluffy brows, just kind of holds them in place. Or it can be mixed with any of the shadows to create a very like pigmented pomade, which is how I'm going to draw this brow on here. So I scooped a little bit of it out onto my palette here. Can you see this? Yeah, there we go. Here, and I already started to mix a pomade shade using the 2 deepest colors in the palette. And I'm going back here with my double-ended brush that I used to comb through my brows, and I'm using the angled end. I'm just going to begin to draw a brow on. So this is the most difficult part, is getting that symmetry. So I like to start really thin. Not that 90s brows have much thickness to them in general.
Yeah.
But just with like a very thin line just to get the shape even on both sides. And then we can go in and create little hair-like strokes.
Nice.
It's about neat, I'd say. All right.
Yeah, that's great. A great tip on mixing the pomade and the powder together.
Yeah.
I
love it because this eyebrow, obviously it's covered now, but I have like a big chunk missing out of it just since I was a kid. So like, but I also love a really soft, very natural brow. So I use the powders pretty much on their own for most of my brows, but then I can go in and create this like custom pomade where you can really just kind of create little hair-like strokes, and it just looks very natural, but makes it last a bit longer, and you can kind of paint in a fake little brow. So now twisting my brush here, we're just going to start to thicken this and create some hairs.
Yeah, looks good. This is always the trickiest part when doing the eyebrows.
Yeah, matching them up.
Yeah.
But as they say, they're supposed to be sisters, not twins, right?
Sisters, not twins. Yes. Absolutely. So do we think the like 90s brow will really full swing come back?
I think so.
I don't know.
I feel like we cycle through.
As somebody who's lived through some of the
It's
90s,
true.
I'm not sure I'm ready for it, but who knows? I'm here for the laminated soap brow trends. I'm like, yay, the fluffier the better.
Me too. I like a nice fluffy brow. Although I don't know, I put this side out and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, you totally
that
look
bad.
great.
But would I be willing to like get rid of 50% of my eyebrows to do this? I don't think so.
No, yeah, don't, please.
I don't think so. I don't think I could.
But no, it definitely, we'll see.
Yeah, it will be very interesting to see. I mean, the 90s.
I'm here for all the
have-
90s makeup looks returning. I
Yeah.
love a good,
Yeah.
like, the eyes, the lips,
The
but
frosty.
yeah.
And the fashion too. Like it's amazing. I see these, younger, young 20s walking around and they look like Christina Aguilera from 1995. I'm like, oh,
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Right? Very nostalgic when you start seeing these looks that you kind of grew up with. You're like, oh, I remember those. Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah, it's like a lot of dimension.
And that is pretty much about it. Yeah, you can go in and create, like, you can use multiple shades in the palette to create more of a natural brown instead of just using just one shade to go in. I kind of mixed the two darkest shades, like I said. So I did a little bit of the lighter shade first and then a little more dimension using the black brown in the palette.
Yeah, that looks great because it looks natural.
Yeah.
Like I think in the 90s, a lot of people used the pencils and it was very harsh, and this looks really, really good.
I feel like this is somewhere in between where it's
Yeah.
still like that thin pencil brow, but I mean, I hope the like just straight line doesn't come back.
Yeah, let's not bring that one back.
I hope not.
Yeah, fingers crossed. We're with
Yeah.
you. I'm not ready for that one either.
I'm not ready for it. Not that.
Okay, so quickly, let's just go through like removal for people.
Yes, removal. Removal is incredibly important, especially when you're using a product that is more of a professional adhesive that's going to be a little more heavy duty. So the first thing that I would do to remove this is you want to remove your top layer of makeup. So something with a really nice gentle remover. I love the Mehron Makeup Remover Lotion. It's just kind of a little bit, it's got a little bit of a slip to it, and it will just kind of remove the top layer without having to scrub. The brow block underneath will still remain after using this, so you'll still have that spirit gum in your brows. So then you're going to go in with spirit gum remover. We do also sell this size spirit gum with a smaller size spirit gum remover, which is a great little pair. That way you have it. With the spirit gum remover, you never want to scrub or really like pull at the brows. It's more of a holding it for a second and letting it soak to dissolve and to break down the adhesive. Another tip is you don't want to use a whole lot, especially on the brows, because it's so close to your eyes. You don't want this dripping into your eyes. So I just put a very small amount onto a cotton round, and then I would just take that and just hold it to the brow and just kind of let it sit there for about 15 seconds, and then very gently, just a little circle motion, and you'll notice all that adhesive is just going to start to break up. Because we have a little bit of wax in there, you might want to go back in with your spoolie after that step and just comb through very gently. You should never pull. If you feel it pulling, go back to your step with spirit remover, another 15 seconds, hold it there, let it dissolve a little bit more, and then the spoolie will help to take out any of the wax that's left in there. After that, cleanser, soap, water, wash it off, you should be good to go.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So you guys hear that? If you're buying spirit gum, buy the remover too.
Yeah, I
We
would
don't want
definitely
you
recommend.
waxing off your eyebrows, accidentally
No.
removing any hair that you
No.
definitely wanted thereafter.
You don't want to do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much, Katie. We definitely appreciate you taking the time
Thank you
to
so much for
go
having
over and teach us bra blocking on a professional level. We so appreciate it. And you guys, if there's anything else you guys want to see us talk about or in the future, for future lives, definitely let us know. Don't forget to check out our blog on eyebrow trends at camerareadycosmetics.com, and you can purchase any of the products that Katie talked about today by Mehron, also at camerareadycosmetics.com. So thank you, Katie.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys soon.
Okay, sounds great.
Have a great
Bye.
day. Bye.